Good evening, everyone. It's 6:30, and I'm going to call our June board meeting to order here in an absolute minute. Wanting a couple housekeeping items. One, again, appreciate that you're on mute, and that unless you're speaking, you'll stay on mute. I also understand, as I say each time, there's a delay when we come off mute before we speak. So I appreciate that that's an issue as well. I'm going to call roll here in a second, but I want to make note for the record that Mr. Hendricks will be joining us in a minute. And I will go ahead and convene the meeting when he joins us. For the record, I believe he will make a statement that he is on, or I will make note that he has joined our call. I wish we could be together for the last meeting of this fiscal year, but conditions haven't allowed that. And we've done, I think, a pretty good job together of ensuring that we still are able to have these meetings. I want to also comment again that IT has done a remarkable job, and also shout out to Elza, our board assistant, for being able to help us come to this board meeting with as little effort as possible. I know behind the scenes there's a ton, but from a board perspective, it's been pretty easy. So thank you for that. So at this time, I'm going to call the public hearing of the Maricopa County Community College District to order. And as I do that, I'm going to call roll for board member attendance. I'm going to start with Miss Maya.
Present.
Miss McGrath.
Present.
Mr. Saar.
Present.
Dr. Thor.
Present.
Dr. Narini.
Present.
Miss Nguyen. Did you say present, Miss Nguyen? I see you're on. I just can't hear you. Can anyone else hear her?
Present.
Thank you. Sullivan present. And with that, I'll convene the meeting with our student advisory trustee present and 6 board members. Again, noting that Mr. Hendricks is on his way to join us. Continuing in this public hearing, we are here to take and read public comment regarding the proposed budgets for Gateway Early College High School fiscal year 2021 and Phoenix College Prep Academy fiscal year 2021. I would also like to announce that we are live captioning our meeting. So please look in the chat window of our WebEx meeting where you will find a link. Click on that, as you will, to open a web page that will live caption our meeting for you. I have note that there is no public comment. And with that, then, this concludes the public hearing portion of our meeting. And so we will continue to the regular board meeting. Yes, is someone trying to offer comment? Okay, thought I heard some rustling there. Being none, moving on to our regular meeting, I'm going to call that to order and note that for the record, all board members are currently present with the exception of Mr. Hendricks, and Ms. Maya is also in attendance. I'm going to go through the issues. We have a substitution this evening. Ms. Colleen Charleston O'Neill is sitting in for President Haynes of Scottsdale Community College. Moving through the agenda, we are not going to say Pledge of Allegiance as we're not physically present with each other, and then move on to student life reports, of which there is none. The Faculty Executive Council report, there is none. The Adjunct Faculty Association report, I have note that adjunct faculty is represented by Mr. Patrick Roddy. Mr. Roddy.
Good evening. This is Patrick Roddy. Can you hear me?
Yes. Barely from my end.
Okay, great. President Sullivan, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, members of the CEC, and guests. My name is Patrick Roddy, and I currently serve as the president of the Adjunct Faculty Association of Maricopa Community Colleges. As an adjunct faculty member, I teach motion picture and television production at Scottsdale Community College. I appreciate the opportunity to provide you with a brief update tonight. This will be my last report as president of the AFA, as I will begin my new role as past president starting July 1, and Terry Train will assume the role as the next president of the Adjunct Faculty Association. I would like to say that I'm extremely honored and so very grateful for having had this opportunity to serve the Maricopa Community College District and the adjunct faculty as we collectively and continuously strive to improve the lives of our students. Over the last year and a half, there have been many challenges, but also many accomplishments for the AFA. We implemented new election procedures to ensure compliance. We reviewed and updated our bylaws. We sought out collaborative opportunities to contribute at both the campus and district levels. And we overhauled our website to improve information flow and communication, to name just a few. But the most important thing that has happened over the last year and a half has been the inclusion and participation of adjunct faculty in shared governance processes, such as FACT. The adjunct faculty are an invaluable and untapped resource. Adjunct faculty are positive contributors in the classroom, but can be much more when it comes to each of the 10 campuses in the Maricopa Community College District overall. I would like to thank Gail Haas for all her support and guidance as I took on this role, and would like to recognize all that she has done and continues to do on a daily basis for adjunct faculty throughout the district. I would also like to thank Terry Train for taking on the AFA leadership role during this challenging time and recognize her contributions thus far. She has made an immediate impact, especially her work on FACT. I look forward to seeing what the AFA can achieve in the coming year and the continued positive contributions adjunct faculty make in accomplishing our mission of student success and our drive to improve our district. That concludes my remarks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Roddy. We certainly have appreciated your service this year and wish you the best of luck as the past president beginning July 1. And also look forward to our work with Ms. Train in her leadership role in the coming year. And also, so thank you very much. Also, I'd like to note that Mr. Hendricks has joined our call, which makes it 7 board members in attendance for this evening's meeting. Moving on, then, there is no Maricopa Student Senate report. There are no awards and recognitions, which then brings me to the Chancellor's report. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, good evening, President Sullivan, members of the board, CEC, and faculty and guests with us this evening. Appreciate the opportunity to provide you a system update as we close out this fiscal year and head into a short rest of the summer break in preparation for a fall semester. I too would like to thank Mr. Roddy for his leadership on the Adjunct Faculty Association and welcome Dr. Terry Train. We have added the Adjunct Association president to be a member of CEC, and she's been serving for about a month now and has been a very active member, so we appreciate her leadership already. I've got several updates to provide, and I appreciate the time that you're giving me to do so. I'll start off with an enrollment update. We're holding steady for the past couple weeks as we're down 22.7% in headcount and down 25.3% in FTSE, with about 10 weeks to go before we start the fall semester. We of course continue to recruit and market in this this very strange environment for us. Not being able to do so face to face, of course, makes it more challenging, but nevertheless, the work continues. We are working on developing marketing for the tuition package that the governing board approved a couple weeks ago and hope to see some traction as a result of that. I have Dr. Carla Fisher, our provost, that might be able to offer a very quick example of what we're doing related to that marketing of the tuition package, if you'll allow me to ask her to chime in for just a moment, because I know that there was great question and interest from our governing board members on what we're doing there.
Thank you.
Ms. Sullivan, members of the board, Chancellor, members of CEC, and guests, we are working away on the tuition opportunities and the board scholarship grants that were provided at the special meeting a couple of weeks ago. The academic and student affairs systems and budget teams are completing systems work. There's some reprogramming that has to happen to adjust the tuition rates and apply scholarship grants to student accounts. And that will correct our student billing and payment plans for those who have already enrolled in fall 2020. Those that we're still reaching out to, information on the tuition opportunities and scholarship grants, which we are dubbing the Maricopa Opportunity Grants, will be live on our district and college websites on July 1. The marketing and contact center teams are coordinating a tuition opportunities campaign to promote both the flat rate full-time and the out-of-state tuition rate changes to those groups. This campaign includes direct mail postcards, social ads, social media ads, digital display, and websites. And all are driving to a web landing page with contact center support on the back end to follow up on anyone who expresses interest. The campaign will launch in early July. I know we would love to have it launch next week, but we really do have to train our contact center call center reps in order to provide the correct information to our students and get them ready for that work. The marketing, financial aid, and contact center teams are coordinating a FAFSA completion campaign as well. They're going to run some online workshops to help students figure out how to fulfill their FAFSA or fill out their FAFSA. Because the program that was approved by the board includes non-Pell eligible students, and we're really grateful for that, the minimum a student will receive for completing a FAFSA this year is $400 for a full-time student or $200 for a part-time student. And that is quite an incentive. It's something we've never been able to offer before, so we're excited about that. And the teams are also coordinating a direct outreach to students in the enrollment pipeline now. Anyone who's even touched base with us saying that they might be interested, we'll let them know that they're eligible for the last dollar scholarship grants and share the incentive and encourage them to complete their FAFSA.
Thank you, Dr. Fisher, for that. Continuing on with my update, the systems update here. What I'll call the spring wrap up, that's the completion of the spring courses that couldn't move to an online environment. As you recall, we had nearly 700 that could not move online. We prioritized those that needed to continue for a variety of reasons, and approximately 225 to 250 courses or classes came back last Monday on June 15th, and we probably are seeing around 1,500 to 2,000 students return across the district to finish the courses that they couldn't finish when we moved to an online learning environment last March. Examples of the types of programs that came back are dental hygiene, automotive, EMT, fire science, dietetic tech, and vet tech, to just name a few. And as you can see by the titles of those types of programs, these were obviously the courses where students needed to be in the laboratory or clinical or a physical setting where they needed to put their hands on items to learn. The reports back are that students and faculty, while cautious, were also enthusiastic to continue the learning opportunity. I personally saw numerous pictures that were shared with me from students in labs and automotive bays while wearing masks and practicing social distancing guidelines to ensure health and safe learning environments. College presidents commented on their deep appreciation of faculty to prepare for this return, and I too express that appreciation to our faculty who have come back a few weeks after the semester has ended to continue this. So thank you. Speaking of coming back, we are approaching the July 6th next phase in as part of our phased in approach to returning. And I just want to express that this is the minimum number of employees necessary to achieve the objectives that we have. And this doesn't mean that we will see a 100% return. on July 6th. We also continue to monitor what is happening in our state. We all are familiar, if we've been watching the news, that there has been a surge in the number of COVID-19 cases across the state. We also recognize that testing has increased as well. But clearly there are more people today that have COVID that have had in the past, and that causes a little concern for some. So we will continue to have conversations on what a July 6th opening looks like. And August 3rd would be the next phased in date, and that's an attempt to bring back as many, again, increasing the number of employees that would come back in preparation for a fall semester with some face-to-face component to that. And of course, we would continue to follow all CDC and state and local guidelines and maintaining 6-foot distancing, temperature guidelines established and such. This is a very fluid, dynamic situation that we continue to monitor. We are making the decisions as best we can based on the information that we have, and ultimately the health and safety of our employees and our students is the highest priority, and we just want people to know that we're making decisions based on that. CARES Act. Of the CARES Act based student funding, approximately 2/3 or 74.6% has been distributed to students in awards ranging from $255 to $1,500, with an average award of $694. Of the CARES Hispanic Serving Institution student funding, nearly 1/5 or almost 20% has been distributed to students in awards ranging from $300 to $1,053, with an average award of $696. The remaining funds will be distributed by the colleges via need-based student applications. And of course, we continue to identify how we are using, or how we will use, the institutional CARES portion of that funding. I've mentioned to you the notion of Maricopa 2.0, and that's a pivot. We also are calling it a pandemic pivot, and realizing that as an organization, we had the ability to shift very quickly in response to the pandemic, and we're wanting to harness that energy and harness the sort of new norm that we're in, to realize that we probably need to be different moving forward. So you're going to continue to hear work on what Maricopa 2.0 means and what the tangibles will be for that. On June 1st, like many organizations across the country, we issued a statement in response to the George Floyd incident and the civil unrest that followed. And as you saw in the message, we reaffirmed our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are values that make up our organizational fabric. More importantly, and possibly where we want to set ourselves apart from other organizations, is that we're committed to action, and we want action to follow those words. So far, we've held 2 district and community-wide listening sessions with a nearly combined participation rate of 1,000 people. Each college has already had 1 or more follow-up sessions for their communities, employees, and students. More sessions are planned through the summer, and these listening sessions will inform the tangibles. There are many people to thank for this, but I want to thank Jackie Starks for taking my request on a Monday to have our first session by the end of that week. And Kirsten Clary, Joe Schwaba, Felicia Ganther, Carla Fisher, Ahmad Daniels, people that were behind the scenes, and there are many others, and I apologize for leaving out those names, but these are folks that I worked with very closely in that week to ensure that we had responded as quickly as we could. I also want to say that we're very fortunate to have Chief Denlinger and his team of officers across the district. They take great care in ensuring that our learning and working environments are safe, and I want to recognize their work. I also want to recognize the fact that Chief is extremely proactive in working very closely with Jackie Starks in diversity, equity, inclusion, and conversations that are just very tough to have. They've been having these conversations and dialogue in our campuses before the June 1st response that I just explained to you. So I want to thank him and his officers across the district for the good work that they do as well. As I close out here, while I'm thanking people, I want to take a moment to recognize and thank the many employees in our district that have been physically reporting to work each day because of the critical nature of their role. While most of us went in a remote work environment, these employees kept coming to work each day. That's just off the top of my head. I think about our police officers that have protected our college campuses, maintenance staff and grounds crews that have kept our buildings clean and campuses looking beautiful during this time. I want to thank the faculty and staff who have worked tirelessly to ensure that continuity of our organization continues during this time of great uncertainty. I want to thank the leadership at the college. That's our presidents and vice presidents and deans and directors and at the colleges and at the district level for leading during such difficult circumstances. And then I also want to thank the governing board for your continued support and leadership in our district during these uncertain times as well. That concludes my my systems update, President Sullivan, and I want to thank everybody for this fiscal year that we have and hope that you enjoy the rest of your summer. It is, while we typically don't have a governing board meeting in July, I know that there's always the possibility of coming together for special meetings. And if that's the case, then we will be prepared to host those special meetings. So that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. I understand it'll be a very busy summer for you and all the folks in the district, and we appreciate that. With that, I'm going to move the agenda to citizens interim. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the governing board. In compliance with the open meeting law, the governing board will neither discuss nor act on issues raised during this portion of the agenda. When necessary, issues will be taken under advisement and placed on subsequent agenda. Presenting concerns to the board and the free expression of ideas should be communicated with decorum and respect. Uncivil or disorderly conduct is not permitted. The use of derisive or insulting language for the direction of remarks that defame, attack, or harass an individual may serve as cause for me as board president to direct that the speaker immediately concludes his or her remarks. Given that statement, we do have a public comment for this evening that has been received through the appropriate protocol. With that, however, it's been submitted for a statement to be read, and it falls to me to read that. So with that, I'm going to read a public comment that we received from Mr. Bill Spence, who is a Gilbert resident. This is long as with all of our opportunities and is posted on our website. The public comment has the opportunity to continue for 5 minutes. Beginning then. President Sullivan, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, members of the CEC and guests, my name is Bill Spence. I am a resident of Gilbert and currently serving as council member for the town of Gilbert. While I may make reference to my duties as council member, I am writing to you as a resident and not representing the town of Gilbert in any capacity. While preparing for the recent budget process for the town of Gilbert, I referenced my tax statement obtained from the public records portion of the Maricopa County Assessor's Office as an undeniable and independent accounting of taxes that I paid. Upon reviewing the governing source of these taxes and comparing the year-over-year amounts, an unusual anomaly presented itself to me when I reviewed taxes assessed by the Maricopa Community College Governing Board. There was an obvious shift of taxes being paid from primary and secondary taxes. This led to me conducting some research into the specifics. Some of the details are as follows. May 21, 2013, the governing board voted to increase its in taxes. May 27, 2014, the MCCD board voted again to increase in taxes. I wanted to commend Mr. Alfredo Gutierrez for his discussion during this meeting. He brought up several very good points and seems to be aware of some indicators of potential funding and taxation issues. May 26, 2015, the MCCD board again voted to increase taxes. This appears to be the first time that it was obvious that a shift in tax rate from secondary to primary occurred to allow for funding for capital expenses. 2016, it was difficult to obtain information for this year. Hyperlinks to the actual budget meeting pointed to a different meeting. I'm still researching. May 23, 2017, again, it was difficult to determine the details of this meeting, but it appears that the increase in taxes was due to new construction. I'm still researching. May 22nd, 2018, this was the first year where the taxation policy appeared to change significantly. I noticed that Mr. Gutierrez was no longer serving as president. I admired the keen observations and comments that were made by him during my research. Please extend to him my appreciation for his service on the board. However, with regard to taxes, this was the first year that the MCCD board approved a primary tax levy increase, secondary tax levy increase, and a very intentional and deliberate shift of the tax rate from a more restricted secondary tax rate to the less restricted primary tax rate. It was announced that the shift was due to the pending expiration of GO bonds and permitted tax funds to be used for capital expenses. It was also announced that this action may prevent MCCD from going out to obtain a bond from the voters. It was also announced that this would not be called a quote tax increase, unquote, even though there was a truth in taxation filing indicating that there was indeed an increase in taxes. The rationale was due to a combined tax rate decrease, although both primary and secondary tax levies increased. May 28, 2019, again, and as confirmed by a truth in taxation statement filing, the board voted to approve a primary tax levy increase, secondary tax levy increase, and another deliberate shift of the tax rate from a more restricted secondary tax rate to the less restrictive primary tax rate. Again, the intention of this tax rate shift was to be used for capital expenses. May 26, 2020, as recently as last month and as confirmed by a truth in taxation statement filing, the board voted to approve a primary tax levy increase, secondary tax levy increase, and another shift of the tax rate from a more restricted secondary tax rate to the less restricted primary tax rate was approved. Again, the intention of this tax rate shift was to be used for capital expenses. The following justification statement was published on the non-consent agenda action item dated May 26, 2020. Quote, in an effort to avoid seeking a bond to fund capital needs, the decision was made to forego additional bond issuance and shift the declining secondary tax to the primary rate for capital. As the total tax rate declines from bonds being paid off, shift a portion of the planned reductions from the secondary level to the primary tax level to fund future capital needs, unquote. It was also announced again that this shift of secondary tax rate to primary tax rate was due to the depletion of bond funds that would occur with 3 years. While I'm still conducting research and obtaining specific information that is not available online, here are some of my initial beliefs and comments. Fact. The town of Gilbert bonds are approved by voters for specific voter-approved infrastructure projects, and voter-approved taxes can only go to voter-approved debt. This level of restriction is not being allowed or does not appear to be applicable with MCCD bonds. I'm still researching this. I've not yet been able to obtain the specific MCCD bond information, but it is my belief that the voter-approved bond said nothing about the tax levy going to anything other than voter-approved debt. In this case, MCCD borrowed money for one purpose. However, MCCD is using it for another purpose without the voters' express consent or knowledge. I understand that bond issuance may be difficult during these critical times when many people are having financial problems. However, I believe that the voters were denied the opportunity to determine what their taxes are paying for, especially when they approved taxes for one purpose, yet the money is going somewhere else. Obtaining information online was extremely difficult. The truth in taxation statements are posted in a publication that requires a subscription to view. I was never able to find these statements on the MCCD website or in the Arizona Republic as advertised. Additionally, I find it concerning that meeting minutes are not available online, especially during the COVID crisis. I feel that there should be a significant increase in transparency for decisions that result in some of our most significant property taxes. Based on what I have seen thus far, I'm unclear if MCCD intends to eliminate the tax rate currently being paid once the current bond is paid. The analogy that comes to mind is the bank reducing a car payment and then continuing to collect payments for a car that is completely paid off. I hope that this is not the case. It is my belief that the voters have not been adequately informed about the taxes being collected by MCCD. I endured several weeks of protest and hundreds of emails and phone calls for a very transparent budget process. I am shocked by the lack of community involvement in MCCD budget meetings, especially since MCCD is one of the most significant taxes paid by property owners. I want to state that I believe in our community college system, and I believe the Maricopa colleges are top-notch. I also understand that budgets are very difficult, even in the best of times. I also believe that these significant budget decisions belong to the voters. I will continue to pursue the data that I have not been able to obtain and ask that the board support me in finding all the details surrounding these financial decisions, starting with providing all the information regarding the bond being discussed above. I look forward to following up with my findings at the July MCCD board meeting. Thank you so much for your time. Stay safe and stay healthy. Sincerely, Bill Spence, Gilbert resident. For note, this letter will be submitted to the public record. With that, I will now move us to the consideration of consent agenda items. All the items as noted on the posted agenda with an asterisk are consent matters unless they are removed from the consent agenda at this time. Do any board members or the chancellor wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Okay. Being none, then is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
And who is that, please?
Linda Thor.
Thank you, Dr. Thor. Is there a second?
Second. This is Dr. Narini.
Thank you. All in favor? I'm going to call roll for approval. Miss Maya?
Aye.
Mr. Hendricks?
Aye.
Miss McGrath?
Aye.
Dr. Narini?
Aye.
Mr. Saar?
Aye.
Dr. Thor?
Aye.
Miss Nguyen?
Aye.
I vote aye, by a vote of 7-0 with the advisory board member also voting aye, the consent agenda is approved. I also need to ask, would members of the board approve the use of their electronic signature on the approved fiscal year 2021 budgets for Gateway Early College High School and Phoenix College Preparatory Academy? Again, I need to call roll on the vote. Ms. Maya, I'm going to pass over you on this. Mr. Hendricks?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. Ms. McGrath?
Yes, that's fine.
Dr. Narini?
Yes, I agree.
Mr. Saar?
Sure.
Dr. Thor?
Yes.
Ms. Nguyen?
Sure, yes.
And I also find that acceptable. So with that, that will be distributed for our electronic signatures by Ms. Macias. So moving through the agenda, then we're now on to first readings. That's item, I was looking for it, there we go. Item 13.1. Any comments or questions, board, on item 13.1? Moving on then to item monitoring reports, item 14.1. Budget analysis report fund 1. Any comments or questions? There being none, then, wow, this is the shortest board meeting on record. I'm going to move us to the community reports from governing board members. And I'm going to go, how about you, Dr. Narini? How about you start us off this time?
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I hope everybody's staying safe and sane. So first of all, I want to thank Dr. Olson and Dr. Leva-Reese for allowing me to be part of their graduation ceremonies at South Mountain in Glendale. The next thing I was just wondering if I'm the only one, or with all the stuff that's been going on lately, the pandemic, the lockdown, George Floyd's murder, the protest, the Supreme Court decisions, the virtual graduation. Does everybody else realize that this all 2020? It's not even half over yet. So,
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
and so, with that, I want to thank Dr. Gonzalez and all of the CEC for all their work in helping us navigate through this most challenging 4 months, I think, that most of us have ever been through. I also especially want to thank him and Dr. Fisher and Jackie Starks and their staff for pulling together the listening forum that Dr. Gonzalez was talking about earlier on equity and inclusion. As we're looking at all these things that we're faced with, there's not a whole lot we can do about the long-term dangers of COVID, except for, of course, wear our masks and wash our hands and stay socially distanced. But what it did help me understand is that we, listening to these sessions, sitting in on these sessions, there is something we can do about the long-term dangers of inequality and exclusion and diversity. So I was happy to hear that the panelists on the listening sessions, Mr. Daniels and Dr. Swaba, what they had to say really reinforced a lot of the work that I've been doing over the last 30 years in education for diversity. I also sat in on a couple other workshops, including one with Dr. Jeff McGee from the Cross-Cultural Dynamics. He had some very interesting things, very interesting insights on equity and racism and implicit bias in higher education. My work in these areas and these workshops reminded me that a couple things. One, that we're not perfect, and another, that we still have a lot of work to do in this. And no person or institution is perfect when it comes to dealing with these issues. But we first need to attempt to address these issues. We first have to identify them. I mean, that's the very nature of implicit bias, right? I mean, the unconscious manner by which understanding is informed by our ingrained stereotypes and attitudes, I think, was the definition that they used. But by setting standards at which we can aspire to, can helping us begin to identify some of the biases that we have and help to address them in a productive and meaningful way. Of course, it's not going to be easy, but it definitely is going to be worthwhile. And because when everybody is valued and invested in the community, everybody benefits. I think the inclusion and dignity and justice are goals that we can all agree on. In many of the colleges and universities around the country, and a lot of the associations, like the Association for Community College Trustees, the Association for College Board, AACU, and the American Association for Community Colleges, have all put out statements about the issues, the protests, diversity, and that sort of thing. And some of you even put out statements regarding the recent Supreme Court decisions on DACA and LGBTQ rights. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to know that Dr. Gonzalez has put out the statements and just thinking about us as a board. But we're living through one of the most trying times, I think, in recent history. And as a board, I think we owe it to the institution, to the employees, and more importantly, to the students to have a discussion on these issues and to make a statement or a resolution outlining where we stand on a lot of these issues. I mean, I don't think it comes as anybody's surprise that I stand firmly behind the right of people to protest peacefully. And I support the evaluating of the allocation of resources to law enforcement and study the most effective use of the resources to achieve the goal of having a safe, equitable, and just community where everybody can live a life with dignity. I mean, keep in mind, it's been nearly a decade. When I talk about the police and the funding and that sort of thing, keep in mind, I work at a school called Franklin Police and Fire High School. It's a school where we train future police officers and first responders. And these young people, I know, want to serve the public. They don't want to dominate them. They just want to serve them. So I have a slightly different take on police and the care, and I care deeply, especially about the future police officers, because they're my students and how they serve the public. So I can certainly appreciate the challenges they face on the street and some understanding of what they need to be safe on their job. Again, I don't think it's any surprise when I say that I support the Supreme Court's decision on DACA, but we need to do a lot more. We need a path to citizenship. for these students. We need a comprehensive immigration reform. And I think the laws of Arizona around access to higher education for DACA and undocumented students is just simply mean. They're just mean-spirited and wrong. And we should use our positions as board members at a community college that educates more people of color than anybody else in the state. We need to help change those laws, to help these students, to help our students, because when every student who wants an education can afford to get an education, then we all benefit. I also support the Supreme Court's decision on LGBTQ rights, and I think that we must continue to support our LGBTQ community in Maricopa. I think sometimes we forget. I think we sometimes forget because we're just involved in it. But what a remarkable creation the community college is. You know, we know. I mean, one thing that we all know is that education is the surest ticket out of poverty, and we provide that ticket to anybody who has the ganas and the determinations to try to get that education. I mean, what we do at the community college, we don't change just students' lives. We change the lives of generations. And I know this because I was one of those students. I was one of those students who struggled through developmental ed classes. I was one of those students who was too embarrassed to look for tutoring, too embarrassed to seek out a professor for help. So before I get too carried away with all of that, because I'll trip off the soapbox if I'm not careful, I just hope the rest of the board will join me in a discussion of these issues, and that we can pull together a resolution that will outline our collective viewpoint of these issues, to set goals, to set standards, to set aspirations that we can all agree on and all work together to achieve. So with that, that's my report, and I'll see if I can jump off the soapbox without hurting myself.
Thank you, Dr. Rini. That was very passionate. And I hope you don't hurt yourself. Thank you for your comments. Then I'd like to move to Mr. Hendricks for any comments.
No report, but thank you.
Dr. Thor.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan, and I appreciate you not calling on me right after Dr. Navini, because I certainly couldn't be as eloquent or as profound as he was. I also would welcome the opportunity for the board to have some discussions on what might be appropriate strategies, directions, and policies in light of all of the heavyweight issues our country and our community are facing at this time. As the chair of the Chancellor Search Committee, I want to let the board know that the search is still paused. Once we receive the report of the external review, I will request that the board president schedule a discussion of next steps. And that ends my report, other than to thank the administration, the faculty, and staff as we end this academic and fiscal year for doing a really, really incredible job under very, very difficult circumstances. And I hope that people are able to get some rest and relaxation this summer.
Thank you, Dr. Thor. Mr. Saar.
Yeah, as sitting up here in the cool pines of northeastern Arizona, enjoying the cool weather, I just want to thank our student trustee for her first endeavor in this position. I think we don't know everything that she's done. I've heard so many different students come to me and thank us for putting somebody in that position. And I'm just totally thrilled and honored that we had Ms. Maya as our student trustee for the last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saar. Mrs. McGrath.
Yes. First, I have a question. I'm not very good with acronyms. Dr. Fisher was referring to something that she called FAFSA. I'm wondering if you could tell me what that is before I make my comments.
I believe she was referring to the FAFSA report, but Dr. Gonzalez, would you be more explicit?
I need to know what FAFSA stands for, what the initials mean.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes. Dr. Fisher, do you want to remind us of what FAFSA means?
The FAFSA,
I
What
can
does
tell you.
letters stand for? Yeah.
Go ahead, Carla.
Ms. Sullivan, Ms. McGrath, the FAFSA, FAFSA is the free application for financial student aid. It's a federal form that drives all federal financial aid and is used to help us determine institutional aid as well. So FAFSA is the acronym FAFSA.
Thank you. I hope in the future, due to my ignorance of acronyms, we will either explain them or tend not to use them. I appreciate your explanation. As for my comments, I really appreciated Dr. Narini talking about the police. I had the wonderful pleasure of attending a week-long, every evening prayer session in front of the Surprise Police Department. We prayed from 6:30 to 7:15 every evening for the police, and they certainly need it, and I'm very pleased with the police department that we have at the district. They are wonderful and they protect us, and as it was mentioned, they worked every day while other people got to work from home. I don't know if that was difficult or not, but I appreciate them very much and look forward to working with them all in the next fiscal year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McGrath. Ms. Nguyen?
I think a lot's been said, and I don't want to belabor the point, but I do want to say how wonderful it was to have our first student trustee. And I think that that was having that voice and having such an exceptional student to begin with has really been our privilege. And I just know that Alejandra will do just amazing things in her future. And so as for the police, I concur with Mrs. McGrath that we have an exceptional police department, and I believe that we as a community college district should absolutely address the things that Mr. Narini brought up. I think it's important that one of the things I'm concerned about that seems to be keeps reoccurring is the academic freedom issue. And I just hope that we realize that academic freedom should never be used as a shield for racism or things that are just despicable in our community, and that Black lives do matter, but all Black lives matter and all lives matter. And I think it's important that as we address these, that we respect each other's difference in opinions, and that we can come together and come to a consensus, but that we have to honor all people. And finally, with the DACA students, I would love for that situation to be resolved. I think it's unfair to the students. I think it puts us in a compromising position, and I hope that we can get that resolved, whether we put pressure on our legislators, but the DACA situation is just almost untenable. So I would look forward to having those discussions with other board members. I want to thank the FEC. I want to thank Dr. Gonzalez, Provost Fisher, and everybody who's worked during these difficult times. I am confident it's made us better, and that we'll be able to see that when we resume in person whenever we do that. So thank you, everybody, for everyone's hard work.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Ms. Maya, I want to call on you, but before I do, I have something else I'd like to say. And that is, I would definitely support all the board members' appreciation and comments in support of your year serving with us on the governing board. You stepped into a role for which we had little idea of how it could benefit. We knew it would, but we weren't real clear how. And I have to say that you met and exceeded every one of our expectations. I know that each one of us has been proud to serve with you, and we've never hesitated to endorse your choices or reflections that you have made to the board in our decision-making. You've expanded our board leadership to great benefit to our community, particularly the students that you represented. And along with that, you've just been a pleasure to work with. I love your smile. I love your curiosity. And I like the idea that you're always willing and able to bring more people into your circle of influence that then helps us understand how to do our work better. So we look forward to great things from you, Alejandra. And we know that as you take on your next step, attending the Barrett Honors College at ASU, that you're going to represent the Community College District, but most importantly yourself, with great aplomb. And we wish you the very, very best. And board members, to that end, if we were all together, I'd be walking towards Miss Maya with a plaque. And because we're not physically together, it's in the mail, but I want to read what the plaque would say, Alejandra. It says, the Maricopa Community Colleges Governing Board extends to Miss Alejandra Maya our heartfelt thanks and appreciation for an outstanding year of service as the first Student Advisory Board member, 2019-2020. Offered to you on June 23, 2020. So with that, I'm going to ask everybody who can to unmute and clap really, really fast so we can all and show you our appreciation. So now, after that, Ms. Maya, I'm calling on you. Do you have any board comments?
Thank you, Mr. Saar, Ms. Nguyen, and Ms. Sullivan for your comments. Crying a little bit, but tears of happiness, of course. I want to thank Dr. Reese for letting me be part of JCC's commencement video and listening panel this past few weeks to discuss the current issues in our community and the country. And just like Dr. Narini said, we need to be speaking to our students and staff about these current issues. Today is my last governing board meeting, and as my term ends on July 1st, I want to thank everyone who helped me grow and guided me this past year, from people on the board, the district, instructors, and administration. I'm grateful to be the first student to serve on the board, and I'm glad I'm one of the first of many students who will advocate for others in the district. I could say my goodbyes in person and thank you for everything everyone has done for me, but I'm glad everyone's safe and they're healthy. And I'm sure Julissa will do an amazing job, and I'm looking forward to hearing from her accomplishments. Once again, thank you, and I'm proud that I made the right choice to start my higher education at a Maricopa Community College.
Well, I'm sending you a big hug on behalf of everybody, and I know that there is a lot of appreciation coming over the internet waves, or whatever they are, to embrace you and give you our best regards. And also, we look forward to welcoming Ms. Julissa Munoz in your place when we convene in August. So I'd like to make some closing comments here. I also attended the listening session and want to support Dr. Narini's comments and encourage us as a board to come together for this discussion and seeing where we want to go in our statement in support of positive activity as we move to a diverse, inclusive, and equitable culture, continuing that aspect here and improving upon it. Also, I know with the activity of Dr. Gonzalez and the team, as they look at and address those concerns, we'll have more to talk about in the coming months. But keep in mind, board, we have the prerogative throughout July and into August to hold a special meeting or e-sessions. So those may be on the agenda where this could be a topic at some point. Also, in reference to your comments, Dr. Thor, I want to remind the district that though the search committee has been on pause and we're yet to determine exactly what the timetable and next steps are there, we do have an interim chancellor. And as we brought Dr. Gonzalez into the interim chancellor role, our agreement was that we would retain him as interim chancellor until a new chancellor reported to duty. So I don't see that that's anytime soon. And with that, I want to both express my appreciation to you, Dr. Gonzalez, for your almost completely 6 months of service as our interim chancellor. And I know you still have a tremendous agenda of things to accomplish and do in the months ahead as we move this district forward. We're not choosing to be a district that stands still or be stagnant. And under your leadership, we know that we will, in fact, keep moving. So I wanted to reiterate our support and intentions around your work with us. Again, as a matter of business, that we have reached the end of the fiscal year, and technically this is our last, well, this is our last board meeting for this fiscal year. It is very possible, though we don't convene for our next regular meeting until August 25, that it is very possible that we would have occasion for a special meeting or e-sessions. And it's been both a benefit and probably a challenge for us to meet remotely. But if we do need the special meetings and e-sessions, we'll address those accordingly as they occur. I want to also reiterate that we're hoping that a July 6th return makes sense, but certainly, again, you had the authority, Dr. Gonzalez, under our previous board decision to work with your teams to determine what it makes the best sense for the safety of our community, our students, our faculty members, our staff, et cetera. So not wanting to belabor the point, I would like to say thank you, everyone, for a great fiscal year. It's been and continues to be an honor to serve with you. I hope everyone stays healthy, stays safe, and stays cool. So with that, I'm going to say be well. Thank you again to all, and I adjourn the meeting of June 23, 2020. Thank you.